And we're finishing the 16th chapter, and since it's the end of the 16th chapter, it is just about the end of the book, The Indian in the Cupboard. So, Patrick and Omri have decided to send Bright Star's little bear, Boone, and their horses back to their own times. Boone kind of fell asleep drunkenly. Patrick has decided to wake him up. Hearing his name, Boone woke up by himself. So suddenly, he nearly fell off his horse and had to clutch the high pommel of his saddle. "What you want, kid?" he asked Patrick, whose face was close to him. "You're going home, Boone. I wanted to say goodbye." Boone stared at him, and then his face slowly crumpled. "I can't stand saying goodbye," he choked out as tears began to stream. He pulled a huge red grubby handkerchief from his pocket. "I just refuse to say it, that's all. I'll only bust out crying if I do." And he blew a trumpet blast on his nose. Omri and Little Bear were staring at each other. Something else was needed, some special farewell. It was Little Bear who thought of it. "Omri, give hand." Omri put his hand forward. The horse braced his legs, but Little Bear held him steady. Little Bear took hold of Omri's little finger, drew his knife, and pricked it in the soft part. A drop of blood appeared. Then Little Bear solemnly pressed his own right wrist against the place and held it there. "Brother," he said, looking up at Omri with his fierce black eyes for the last time. Omri withdrew his hand. Little Bear jumped onto the back of his horse behind Bright Star's, holding her around the waist so that she and the horse made one unit that could not be separated during whatever kind of unearthly journey they had to make together through the unknown regions of time, space, proportion. Little Bear raised his arm in the Indian salute. Omri put his hand on the door. He nearly couldn't do it. He had to set his teeth. Boone and his horse stood patiently, but the Indian's horse started to prance and sidle. It put up its head and gave a long, challenging neigh. "Now!" cried Little Bear. Omri drew in his breath, closed the door, and turned the key. He and Patrick stood frozen with sadness. The strangeness of it. The magic was working at this moment. Both of them silently counted to 10. Then very slowly, Omri, whose hand had not left the key, turned it back again and swung open the door. There they were, two plastic group forms, outlines, shells of the real creatures they had been. Each boy lifted out his own and helplessly examined it. The life-giving details were blurred. Plastic can't show fine beadwork, the perfection of hair and muscle, the folds of hide, the sheen of a horse's coat, or the beauty of a girl's skin. The figures were there, but the people, the personalities, were gone. Patrick's eyes met Omri's. Both were wet. "We could bring them back just as quick," Patrick said huskily. No, I know they're home by now." Omri put his group, the Indian, the girl, and the horse, on the shelf nearest his bed where he could see it easily. He laid the beaded belt still, real, beside it. Patrick slipped the mounted cowboy into his pocket, keeping his hand around it, almost as if to keep it warm. Then Omri took the key and left the room. His mother was in the kitchen getting everyone a hot drink before bed. She took one look at Omri's face, and her hands became still. "What's happened? What's wrong?" "Nothing, Mum. I want you to keep this key. I lost it. Luckily I found it again. You told me it was important. Better if you keep it, please." She nearly refused, but then looking at him she changed her mind and took the key from him. "I'll get a chain and wear it," she said, "like I always meant to. You won't lose it, will you?" She shook her head and suddenly reached for him and hugged his face against her. He was shaking. He broke away and ran back to his room, where Patrick was still standing with his hand in his pocket, gazing at the cupboard. "Come on, I'm going to put all sorts of medicines in it," Omri said loudly. "Bottles of pills and stuff Mum's finished with. We'll pretend it's a doctor's drug cupboard and we can mix them together. We can mix lots of them together." His voice petered out. Those were silly games, such as he had played before. He didn't feel the slightest interest in them now. "I'd rather go for a walk," said Patrick. But what shall I do with the cupboard?" asked Omri despairingly. "Leave it empty," said Patrick, "in case." He didn't say in case what, but he didn't have to. Just to know you could. That was enough. And that's the end of The Indian in the Cupboard. Luckily, there are 4 sequels to this book, and eventually I will read them all. Right now, I am planning on doing that on a yearly basis, so come next February, I will pick up this Return of the Indian. But if you watched this video and said, "Oh, please read the sequel right now, I really want to hear what it sounds like if you read it," and you wrote that in a comment below, I would be motivated to start reading the sequel sooner. In any case, a new book will probably show up by the end of today. Thanks again for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you next time.